Hello everybody and welcome to Revisiting Disney. This is the series in which I kind of play, I guess you could say, armchair Imagineer. I take the role of Imagineer for a day and I pick an attraction or something from the parks and I just sort of put myself in a position where I have to replace it or refurbish it or change it up, and I kind of talk about what I would put there in its place. Not necessarily because I really want to see the attraction go, but just because I think it's a really cool and fun creative exercise. And at the suggestion of some subscribers last week, today we are revisiting nothing in the Magic Kingdom, nothing in any of the parks actually. Well, I guess in Epcot a little bit if you think about it. We're revisiting the monorail. That's right, the iconic mode of transportation here at Walt Disney World. This one was interesting and it was really fun to revisit because this is one where when I read the suggestion, you know, sometimes I have to sit there and just like think about it for a long time to figure out what I would replace it with. I have to like really break down what it's about and what the spirit is of the attraction and how to put something there. And then there are other times where it just instantly jumps out at me and I go, okay, I know exactly what I want in its place if I had to replace it. And the monorail was one of those instances where I just, you know, I knew right away. Just a quick thing, you know, the monorail is this, you know, very futuristic looking mode of transportation. Walt Disney was really a big fan of the monorail. Of course, it's funny because the monorail itself as a mode of transportation isn't very futuristic at all. It's been around for quite a long time, and for many, many years before Disneyland was even around. However, it seems very futuristic because it wasn't really popularly used here in the United States around that time. And Walt had hoped that by putting it in his parks, that it would pick up and be, you know, everywhere by now. And unfortunately, that isn't really the case. We see it in some other places in some major cities. I think most commonly you see it a lot at airports, but it isn't the sort of mass transit, futuristic mass transportation mode that he was hoping for. And the reason I talk about that is because my idea is based around another very forward thinker in today's world who also has an idea for a futuristic mode of transportation that he would like to see employed, and that is Elon Musk. He is the person who is behind SpaceX. He is the person behind Tesla, the electric car. He wants to put people on Mars to live there. And he has this idea that if you're, you know, an Elon Musk fan, you might already know where I'm going with this, called the Hyperloop. And the Hyperloop is supposed to be a very, very fast mode of transportation of the future. The example that he wants to use it for is to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles in, I think, under a half hour. And the premise of the Hyperloop is actually really quite clever. And the idea is the entire rail is a low-pressure, closed tube system. So it's not an exact vacuum where there's no air at all, but it is a low pressure, meaning that they're, you know, machines sucking out as much air as possible, so there's as little air as possible in the tube. And when you have a little bit of air in the tube, it creates less resistance. And with less resistance, you can push something through it faster, and that's how you can get to insane speeds that allow you to travel, you know, between A and B really quickly. And so my idea for revisiting the monorail is to create sort of like a miniature small version of the Hyperloop. Now, the Hyperloop kind of requires a long distance, but it can't be too long of a distance, right? He's gone on record saying, you know, if it's too long, you can't do a Hyperloop from like New York to LA. At that point, it's not going to be efficient. And I imagine you can't do a Hyperloop, you know, in all honesty, from the Magic Kingdom to the Contemporary, because it's just too short of a distance. It needs to be a little bit longer than that. But I think what would be really great is, rather than, you know, even if you can't create an exact form of the Hyperloop in the way it's meant to be used, where you're reaching those speeds, I think having a mock-up of it, having something that operates on the same idea, maybe at a slightly slower speed so that it's not too jarring, would be a cool way to sort of excite people about transportation in the future. Because the monorail, as cool as it looks, as futuristic as it looks, it really isn't the transportation of the future anymore. It's, you know, it's sort of based on something that's been around for quite a while. But the Hyperloop, brand spanking new. He just came out with plans for the Hyperloop, I think, less than a year ago, or maybe it's about a year ago. So I think it'd be really cool. And as far as like the cost of it, you know, obviously it would be pretty expensive. expensive. You'd have to enclose the entire monorail track system in this like low pressure tube. And it'd be a question of how fast you can safely make it. It might be something where, like, even though it looks like the Hyperloop, maybe the local line here by the Seven Seas Lagoon moves at a normal monorail speed. Maybe the express loop moves a little bit faster. I think you could especially pump up the speed when it comes to going from the Ticketed Transportation Center to Epcot, since there's a much longer distance there. And I think it'd be a cool thing that you could throw in, you know, sort of in the way the PA has its whole spiel about what you could do at Disney, put in a spiel about the Hyperloop and, you know, maybe get Elon Musk to fund it partially, or to be the, I guess you could say, the sponsor of the monorail. I think it would look cool. It would be great in the news. It would be pushing a futuristic form of transportation that hopefully we do see. You know, I would love to see a day where we have a Hyperloop from LA to San Francisco, from, you know, Boston to New York to DC, you know, maybe Chicago to New York. I don't know if that'd be too far or too close, or not far enough, I guess I should say. I think that would be really cool. So that's my idea for how you could revisit the monorail to make it really cool and futuristic. I want to know what your thoughts are, though. Do you love, maybe you've heard of the Hyperloop and you think this is a bad idea, or maybe you've heard of the Hyperloop and you think it's a great idea. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you would do with the monorails. How would you revisit it? It doesn't have to have anything to do with the Hyperloop. It could be a totally different idea. Maybe replacing the monorails with locomotion trains or something. Locomotive trains? Locomotion trains? I feel like they're so old, I don't know what they're called anymore. And if you have an idea for something you want me to revisit, please let me know in the comments below as well, because I love taking your suggestions and using that for future episodes. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Have a great week. If you want to reach me on Twitter, I'm at RobPlays. Whatever you do this week, make the most of it, because it makes it that much better. And I hope to see you all next time for the next episode of Revisiting Disney. Bye, everybody.